Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Sorry. Repositioning.
I know. Yeah, me too.
The window's like right behind me. I'm like, I can't even see myself.
You probably prefer that. So how are you doing?
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah. Are you
Ready?
holding up with all that?
We're almost there. We're almost there.
I have such a hard time being motivated the second half of the semester.
Me too. It's so bad. I'm like, it's a good thing these case studies are our whole grade. Otherwise, I would not do that. It's like, they take up so much time. Plus everything else we have to do.
Did they ever find out how much credit it has?
Well, if you look at the grading rubric there, that's pretty much all of our grade.
Is it?
Like, if you look at the grade book, I mean. I don't want to pull it up because my computer freaks out when I do anything else that hangs. But yeah, like that's pretty much. I mean, those are worth 100 points. Well, I mean, it gets weighted, but those are 100 points, and then these are only like these meetings are only like 10 points. So, so I don't know, but I don't want to risk it.
No. Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean. Yep. Barely.
I think you don't want to be seen. The last 2 weeks, you're a little shocked that we can see you and hear you.
Yeah, well, we went to Europe like 2 weeks ago. We had a
Emily, do you have a lot going on in your background? Is that
Yeah, can you hear it?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. They're going to leave in 5 minutes.
Take them out, huh?
I know. They're all going to, it's all my sisters and my mom. They're all heading to a Relief Society thing after this, or in a few minutes. So.
Nice. So what did you say, Sean? I didn't hear you.
I was just saying, we have a work for all my webinars. And when I went to Europe, I left. Usually just hear me when I'm on my laptop.
Well, yeah, I think I'll mute for a second. Oh, she's just going to get rid of the family.
I'm just going in another room.
There we go. Okay, Sean, do you mind? I'm sorry, I really care.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I went to Europe 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
And while I was there, we have a mic that we use here at work for webinars and stuff, and it got left in Europe. And so I usually use it. It's a nice mic and stuff, and it got left at the hotel while we were there. So.
Oh no.
Yeah, so I've been trying to work on my computer to get people to hear me, and I had a call earlier this week, and people couldn't hear me on my computer. So. That's fine. Yeah. Right.
That's a bummer. What country did you go to over there?
So I went to the Czech Republic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I went to Prague. So we had a convention there.
Very cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, it was neat. It's always, I don't know if you guys are from Europe, I hope not, but I'm always grateful to come home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
home.
Yeah, a good thing about travel is you get to go see where you're,
Yeah.
Where you feel blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Grab my charger. I realize my laptop's dying. Right back.
Sean, are you next week?
No, I'm not sure. I've got to be coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah, actually you are next week. Can I tell you, I think I'm at a scout camp next week. I'm not positive, but I think so. And, I mean, I know for sure I'm at the scout camp, but I'm not sure if I have relief for this meeting next week during camp. So can I just walk you through how to do the setting it up?
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Okay, so do you still have that link that I sent you?
That I do. I just need to let you know.
I'll send it. Maybe I'll just send it to everyone again, just because it was. So I click on that link, and then I choose to set up the chat. I keep it public. If you don't keep it public, it seems to react differently. And then I don't invite anyone until it pulls up. Once it pulls up, then you can invite the people to come show it, to come show up for the meeting, and I think that's the trick. And also, I push now, not later, for when it starts. So I'll kind of walk through it after the meeting and put down my directions, and then
That's
We'll
great.
see.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just glad you were able to figure it out.
Yeah.
Halfway in, we're good.
Yeah, I don't know if he said he was supposed to come to our meetings during the semester, and then I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I doubt he's going to watch much of it. It would be long, boring TV to watch this.
Just check, make sure everyone who says they're there is actually there. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's also like you never know what they're actually going to do because it's all just blanket written for all of the courses, no matter who the instructors are, you know? So you never know which instructor's going to do what. So that's always fun.
It's kind of tough with the instructors, like as far as our like the case study, like the write-up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a huge fan that another student corrects it. You know, like the purpose
Yeah.
of the instructor is that he has experience, so he can give feedback. Like the fact that he has one of our peers correct it is kind of intriguing to me.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah.
But
I'm with you. I get real frustrated when I don't get any feedback because you don't know. Even if you get a good grade, you don't know where you can improve at all, and that's not helpful.
yeah.
I agree. Yeah, a little rough. But.
Yeah, so it's becoming just an exercise to do instead of something that's a building block. So it's
Exactly. I don't feel like I'm learning a ton, you know, as far as like writing them up and stuff. Like, because like you said, we're not getting a lot of feedback. So how do we improve? I don't know. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can go ahead and get started. I guess Rachel said she's going to be here, but I don't want to wait too long. So, do you want to start with a prayer? Jolie, would you mind giving the prayer?
Of course. Okay. Our dear kind Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for the many blessings that Thou hast given us, and we're so grateful that we get to meet this evening as a group and we get to discuss our case study and help strengthen each other and help to refine our understanding of the case that we're learning about and the things that we should focus on. And Heavenly Father, also please bless us that we can have a great discussion and that we can treat each other with respect. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Okay, I just got a text, so let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, it's Rachel. See.
So I don't get an email either from you. I just go in and like that little chat box at the left-hand side. I just click on it. It says I have an invite.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't get an actual email.
That's what I get too.
Yeah, I don't think it. The way it says it just says that you are adding people, and so yeah, I don't know that you get an actual email. I don't put in really an email address. I just put in, like all I'm putting in is right now Tim, and then it clicks his name, and then it invites him in.
Yeah. So I wonder if she doesn't want to go to.
Well, she must, because this is how I've done it, and here she is. Yeah. So.
Hey. Hey, Rachel.
I made it. Thanks.
Yay. Haven't heard from Tim. Have you guys heard from him?
No.
He's going to be at the airport.
What was that?
He was going to be at the airport.
Oh, that's right. He's
That's
gonna
right.
try to be fancy on his phone if he can. All right, so then we'll go ahead and just get started. So I will start by just reading the synopsis of the case. The case describes the dilemma of a marketing manager, Thomas Green, who, after being rapidly promoted to a new position, is harshly criticized by his boss. Green and his boss disagree on work styles and market projections. Green believes the sales goals set by his boss are based on creative accounting and grossly overstated the current market environment. A mood of silent conflict develops quickly between Green and his boss, and Green is concerned that his boss is building a case to fire him. Green's situation is one in which his failure to adapt his work style and fully understand the demands and boundaries of his new position may lead to his discharge. So, what do we see as the key issues in this case?
I think a lot of it has to do with Thomas Green's attitude about the position. He doesn't have the experience. He's never done a job like this, and the advice given him by the woman that was talked into hiring him to, look to higher level managers for advice and to, listen to what they had to say. He hasn't listened to anything. He wants to do things his way. And maybe that is the way he does things, but you can't just do that in that kind of a position.
Mm-hmm. Can you do that in any kind of position?
Maybe where he was before. You can be a salesperson who sells in your way. But when you're a person leading other people, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the problems that I had pointed out in my write-up was egotistical behaviors. I feel like because he climbed so quickly that maybe it's kind of getting to his head that, he's like, maybe they see that I've been so successful and I've done it my way so far, so I might as well just continue that way because it seemed to have worked so far. So.
Yeah, and I think he was thinking that the lady that hired him, what's her name again?
McDonald, Shannon.
Shannon. I think he was thinking that Shannon would have his back no matter what he did, which I didn't get that impression from what she said to him going into it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he got that impression.
I don't know.
I would be curious to see what would happen if that guy left him alone, though. I mean, Davis is pretty on the ball. He's not very willing to let him go. As it was mentioned, he was pretty upset that he wasn't able to hire the person. So he's always got a chip on his shoulder. So I'd be curious if he left Green alone, what Green would do.
Yeah.
If he's done great in sales, I don't know if he would continue to do great, but I would be curious to see what he would do if he got left alone for a couple months.
Yeah, I think he definitely has talent and probably some good ideas, but he was put in the wrong job. That's what I think.
Or at least in the wrong job too soon. He didn't have enough training. He didn't have anybody telling him. Yeah.
I don't know that he is even that skilled with his job, and just what makes me think that is when I reflect on reading about how when the clients would ask for specific reports to help back up what he's trying to sell, he doesn't do that. He doesn't follow through with any of that. And so if you're not following through to your clients, number one, then it doesn't even matter how you're dealing with your bosses above you. If the people who you're selling to start becoming discontent with you and they don't have the backup to make the sales happen, it's just not going to happen, just straight up, right?
I don't be in that job, and because, basically what you're saying, I totally agree with Joey.
Yeah, I kind of just feel like it doesn't seem to, he may be a talented person, however, he's not proving it even to him for himself. He's not coming clean on just the stuff that he's supposed, or not coming clean, but he's not following through on just his straight up responsibilities that have nothing to do with anyone else. Or that's what it appears.
Yeah. Right. He relies on his smooth talking in his sales prior to this, and that doesn't work in this kind of a position. It's the impression that I got from the case.
So I guess then that answers the question, or how would we answer the question, if you were Shannon McDonald, would you have hired Thomas Green, and why or why not?
No.
Yeah.
If you don't have the agreement of the hiring manager, it's kind of a bad situation to put him in the first place. Because the guy who's his actual boss didn't want him in the position, didn't think he was ready, and I don't think he's ready either. She was not being wise by not listening to her employees. I feel like it's kind of her fault.
Yeah.
Well, didn't Frank give him lots of opportunities? Mention to him that he wanted certain reports, that he wanted. It sounds like to me that Frank, even though he didn't get what he wanted with the hiring, he was wanting to encourage him and lead him in the direction of following through. And so I'm not sure that it was that bad. He was working with him. Right.
It's not like he just wanted him to imagine what he needed. He actually said, I want this, I want that. And then when he wasn't, and within a month, he gave him feedback like, these are the things you need to improve on. And he documented it all, which, I mean, Thomas is not thrilled about that because he thinks he's so great. But the fact is that at least he's communicating. At least Frank Davis, at least he's communicating with Thomas Green.
True.
documentation at least gives you a check mark to, you know, a checklist on what you need to work on and follow through on. If it's not documented to some extent, then it's just a conversation in passing that you can't necessarily remember all of the things you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And the attitude, though, I think he's right about thinking that Thomas Green has a bad attitude. I don't know about him bringing up the unrealistic sales numbers. I'm not sure. You know, maybe those were unrealistic, but Thomas should say, okay, well, how would you get to those sales numbers? Because I'm not sure that that's going to be possible. What do you think? And instead, he said, that's not going to work in front of everybody else. And it just it did not work. It pissed him off from the start.
Yeah. So what do you think Frank Davis's, what does he value and what end goal is he after?
What does he value?
Yeah, that one's, I'm not really sure how to answer that one, to be honest.
Documentation. He wants everything in writing.
Yeah.
And it seems to be the opposite of what Thomas Green does.
Yeah. He's very organized. Like, he wants things done a specific way. Like, I feel like he's very statistical, very traditional in a sense, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think they're both after the same goal. I think they both want to have the company succeed, but they just have very different views of how to do that.
You think? Because I got the impression Thomas just wants him to succeed.
What was that?
I got the impression from what was written that Thomas Green just wants himself to succeed, that he was less worried about the company and more worried about himself making a good impression and getting promoted.
Likely true. I thought that, you know, Frank, he wanted documentation, but when you're selling something that is supposed to give to make the bottom line of big companies better, right? If you're supposed to be saving huge dollars for these airlines or other companies, then you have to be able to document and show the proof of how it will turn out that profit, or at least that reduction in their bottom line. So it sounds to me like Tom Green, he is kind of like a used car salesman. You know, he wants to sell it, to talk it, but if you have to show the proof, he's not selling something that's provable if he's not showing those documents. And that's where it's, you know, big companies aren't willing to lay out for a smooth talker. You know, if it's a used VW from 1969, you know, maybe that's a really good, you know, skill to have, but not necessarily when you're investing millions and millions of dollars in technology, you know.
The higher level you go, the more on paper they want. I mean, I don't think Frank is wrong. He may want it done his way, but guess what? I think his way is the way the industry does it. And I think that Thomas Green would be wise to listen to his way. Otherwise, why is he there?
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, interesting thoughts. I don't know. I mean, I don't know who's at fault here. I mean, it's kind of a fiasco that they got going on. Reading the book that we're reading, though, I think there's definitely a lack of trust. There was never any kind of foundational principles that they kind of came together on. It all kind of started off with this comment in a meeting that just kind of snowballed. You know, Frank never liked it. I shouldn't say that. Frank seemed to have kind of a chip on his shoulder at that point, and then Tom as well. And then from there on, it just kind of seemed to back and forth. And I don't feel like there's enough information here to say Tom's motives were one way or Frank's were the other. I think we're missing a lot. I think there should be a little more information, but I would say they simply didn't set it up right. And I think that falls on Frank's shoulders. I mean, Frank should have pulled him in. Hey, I understand you're young. Like, set some kind of guiding principles. Done something with Tom. I mean, you can't expect a guy that has no experience to come in and just blow your socks off. I mean, that's kind of unrealistic. So I don't know. I don't know. Again, I don't know who's at fault or whatnot. I think they both have got some things that they could have done to have made it work.
Yeah, I think that I don't know that it necessarily would have worked because of Thomas's, like you said, attitude. He definitely does want to succeed and everything, but he also hasn't been he has grown up in that salesman kind of mentality, or not grown up, but that's his background. So I don't know. I think that Frank definitely should have taken an initiative and tried to bring, like you said, John, bring him in and talk to him and kind of try to get on some sort of the same level. And because they are bashing heads so much, maybe they should have brought in the next upper up, which I'm guessing is Shannon, and have a third party in there and kind of try to get on some sort of agreement. Because I think that both of them have valid points. Yes, you need to be out there speaking to the clients and everything as much as Thomas wants to, but you do need to have the data to back it up. So if they can kind of understand each other in that aspect, maybe it would have been a little better.
Is there a competitor in this industry? What did the report tell us anything about that? If they were competing against a major competitor, or if they were kind of a lone?
It didn't talk about a competitor, but it said they had 65% of the market share.
Market share. Okay. So yeah, I guess they do.
Yeah, they do. Who knows how many competitors? They could be somewhat of a monopoly. 65% is a pretty big percentage.
That's a big number. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think that, or who do you think is mostly at fault for the current situation? Or, as we've kind of talked about, do you think they're equally at fault?
Yeah.
If I would be on Thomas's side if he was a little less talking bad about his boss to other people and avoiding him. Like, it specifically said he avoided him.
Yeah.
He's not trying to learn from him. It's the advice given to him by Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you're totally ignoring the advice given to you by the person who hired you and ignoring your boss, I can't stay on your side. That's my point of view.
So, oh, sorry, go ahead, Julie.
No, nothing. Yeah, I was just going to say, I totally agree with that. I think that it lays in his lap. I think that we're responsible for following through 100% or having those discussions why we, want to do it a different way, and perhaps an agreement can be reached. But if you're told specifics and you decide not to do them, that's all on you. And then his attitude is really cruddy. So
talk to other people is like not good.
Yeah, that's, if you've got a problem, go to the person, go to the source and talk it out. Like, we're all grown-ups here. So if you were Thomas Green, what would you do? What actions would you take in this situation? You're being called in by your boss saying, you've done this, 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 and this wrong. What would you do if you were him?
If I wanted to keep my job, I'd try and do the things he's asking me to do. I mean, simple.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you say, okay, this isn't a good fit. Like, if he would swallow his pride and admit this isn't a good fit, if he has a different style and this job isn't going to work, then he should ask if he could go to a different level that's more fitting. He probably wouldn't do that. He seems like the kind of guy that's really interested in just climbing up, and he wouldn't want to go back down. But it just doesn't seem to be working. So at some point, he's got to swallow his pride and either learn the job the way they want him to or go down. And hope that they give him a job of any kind.
Right.
Seems like he's getting a good enough salary to swallow a little bit of pride and see the potential that he has. I was pretty impressed with the salary he was making, and then to have the contradiction of not following through on basic things, receiving a good salary and not following through seems like a bit much to me. That's quite a combination.
Yeah. Yeah, 50% increase over his last position. Holy cow. It's amazing. Yeah, I would be a little more humble in that situation.
Yeah, especially right out of the gate, right? You would you'd think at least he had this honeymoon period of a good year or two where he
did credibility first.
Yeah, I'm not saying that what he's doing isn't something that's of value, but it just doesn't seem to be right for the position that he's in. Mm-hmm. Like maybe that position, that thing that he's doing could be useful as a support to somebody else, but not like if you're the guy in charge and you're not actually getting any solid information for anybody and you're not giving your boss what he wants, how can you lead the people under you? I don't know. Seems like he's not doing what he should be doing. And he's also working in something that isn't going to yield increased sales until later. but he's not addressing that with his boss. I don't know.
So how does power and office politics come into play in this?
Well, office politics, he's playing other people against his boss, right? And so,
Yeah.
or at least his the people above him. I think that this particular case study, though, doesn't give as much. It seems like there could be a lot more office politics, but he just seems to be the squeaky wheel on this train.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think power we've kind of already discussed a lot. They both think their way's the best, and Thomas kind of wants to take charge, and like we said, he wants to climb to the top, and he wants that power, and he's not really respecting the authorities above him.
Not playing politics. Well, okay. If he was playing office politics in a way that would be beneficial to him, he would actually be, listening to his boss.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess it depends on what. I guess him talking to other people is like his way of getting other people on his side or something. I really don't understand what he's doing, honestly.
Yeah. So the next question is, what are each of their conflict styles? So the different styles it provides is competitive, which is characterized by aggressive and uncooperative behavior. Compromise, each party gives up something to gain something. Avoidance, which is disassociation, ignoring or discounting the conflict. And collaboration, which is working together to find a common resolution.
Yeah, isn't it called avoidance?
Uh-huh.
He's doing that.
Ignoring.
Promises. And then what was the first one?
Competition?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's obviously trying to, he's trying to do something that will get him noticed and continue to do well. It's just not working very well at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely not willing to compromise or collaborate at this point.
No, neither one of them.
Yeah, no. I don't see any of that. We've already talked about what he should do now. I don't know why that question's there twice. How can, I guess that kind of goes along, how can he salvage the situation at this point? Again, I think that's just do what he's asked.
I think he needs to call a meeting or ask for a meeting with Shannon and Frank, and then he needs to swallow a little bit of pride, and he can talk about the things he doesn't agree with, like that budget, or not like the budget, but the projections that he didn't like. But he also then needs to say that he'll follow through and make a time frame for following through, and then also a commitment to follow through, so that they can all trust that he's willing to bend with that. And if he doesn't start bending that way a little bit and showing a commitment, then there's no purpose in keeping someone who's not willing to try some tried and true methods of sales in this situation.
Yeah.
I agree. Well, I think he's so used to the sales thing that he's not really right for the marketing thing. And that could very well be. Maybe a great sales account executive, as they call it, but basically a salesperson. And not a great marketer, because marketers have to plan more than they have to stand and talk to people. They have to have the numbers, they have to do the research, they have to do the presentations, but it's like a different job.
Yeah. How can you help sell something if you don't have the data to back it up? To give it credibility and...
Right. I worked in my first job as an administrative assistant after I graduated from Rick's was working for Kraft Foods in the Cincinnati sales region. So I worked directly for the customer marketing manager. So I've seen how they, kind of behind the scenes marketing at that level. She didn't talk to the customers all that often. She was the one planning the promotions and leading the team that were underneath her for the region. So I kind of feel like I can kind of see what this job is, and I just don't think he's right for it.
Interesting. So to apply this to kind of our personal situations, work, future work, whatever, how can managing up be applied at work?
That was a term in last week's as a question too.
Yeah, I don't really...
What exactly is managing up?
I was trying to look it up earlier, and I couldn't find a specific definition. Let me see what I found. I think it's... Oh yeah, so what I was reading basically was when your manager, supervisor isn't doing what they need to, they're not managing properly, how can you, as somebody underneath them, kind of help guide them in the way that they need to go?
Oh, you guide your manager?
Yeah, like if your manager isn't supervising, if they aren't doing what they need to do, they're just kind of sitting back and not managing, and you notice that there's a problem in the office, what can you do as a person underneath them?
So what is the question? How should he have managed up? Is that the question?
Or it's just a general question, not necessarily to the case.
Okay.
How can managing up be applied at work?
Any ideas, Sean?
Dang it, I hope you guys would have answers to this one, because I don't.
Okay, so I'll take a stab at it. So if you're in a company, right, and we'll just use this situation a little bit, if he thinks he is so right and he is so strong, first you would do what you're expected to do. Then you can do your own research, you can add your own inputs, you can show some strengths in different areas, but that comes after the second. No one's ever going to listen to you from the bottom if you're not willing to meet their needs first, and then you can affect other people after that. And so if you're behaving like an angel and working with people and being cooperative and doing all the things that he's not doing, then you could affect things and people will listen to you. However, if you're you can't manage from the bottom up if you're already ruffling feathers and you're not willing to work with people. No one wants to listen to someone who has such an attitude. I think, I don't know anybody, I've never met anybody who that rubs in a really good way to have someone new on a situation trying to steer the whole operation and design things. The things have to be redesigned with patience and understanding, and he hasn't taken the time for either, it sounds like.
Well, did you guys read his bio or their bios?
No.
Yeah, well, yeah, in the case study, you mean?
Yeah, in the case study.
Yeah.
Thomas Green, I mean, he's got a bachelor degree. He did graduate summa cum laude, but a bachelor degree in economics. And obviously very little, experience as far as his career is early. He's got a young career. And then Frank Davis has been with the company for 17 years, and he has both a bachelor degree in history. Granted, that's not business, but he got an executive MBA. So I'd say, between the two, which one might be a little bit more about managing business? The one with the MBA and all the experience, or the one that has none of that and no experience? He's got to show his pride. And like Jolie said, those are all like tips from the Speed of Trust, pretty much. Basically, you gain trust of those around you by all those various behaviors, as listed in the book, the 13 behaviors. And once you've got their trust, then they will start listening to you. But you've got to do things, right first. You have to have the confidence and the results and all that, and also just be a good person generally. So you have to earn the trust, and then you can influence. But you have to earn the trust first.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right, Jolie. Nobody ever comes in, the young person coming in with no experience saying, we need to do it this way. No, the people do not like that.
No. But age doesn't have anything to do with it. Even if you're old and you're coming into a new situation, it doesn't matter. So,
young in the position.
Young, old, whatever. It's an arrogant position to be in, and nobody likes arrogance. And
more about experience and attitude, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both. Because if he had the experience but he still had a bad attitude, there'd be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So you gotta do the right things in order to get people to listen to you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So how do office politics come into play in many organizations?
Oh, goodness. It's complicated.
It's a pretty broad question.
Yeah.
That's right.
Office politics.
I think in a lot of ways, I think they destroy trust in any of its ways. Maybe they don't, not always they don't, but I think oftentimes they do. These Stephen Covey, the book we read, Speed of Trust, talks about these meetings after meetings, kind of thing, and office politics is pertains to that perhaps. But also just these kind of, the book we're reading right now, Dysfunctions book, just the kind of cultures you create, on culture is the right word, or I'm not sure how you'd name it or whatever, but yeah, just the when you look at that team that Catherine comes in to just kind of take over, there's a lot of that obviously involved, and as such, absolutely no trust. It's been awesome to kind of watch that transition throughout the last couple chapters, but yeah, so I think office politics, I think if it's on a larger scale, obviously if it's a couple people that are playing office politics, not too big of a deal, but if it is on a larger scale, I think to destroy trust and destroy a lot of things that in return are tough to rebuild. You can destroy it pretty quick, but it's hard to rebuild it. So yeah, so I'd say trust.
So we're talking about office politics as like a bad thing, like people going behind people's backs, trying to lobby for, the promotion over somebody else, talking bad about people, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Even stepping over people or stepping on people to get your way to the top, that kind of stuff. You just destroy things, and I don't know if Thomas did that kind of stuff to get where he's at. I mean, a lot of it comes back to McDonald. I mean, I'm sure this guy overnight didn't change and all of a sudden become this arrogant kid. I mean, I'm sure you like this as a sales guy, so I don't know. A lot of it kind of falls on her shoulders as well as far as interviewing and stuff. I mean, she had to have some idea of his personality and knowing David as well as she does. I'm sure she'd have to know, like, are these two going to work well together? One's OCD and the other's arrogant. Maybe there might be an issue, so anyways, that's my theory.
Well, she had faith that he would learn from the guy for some reason, and she told him, and I think it was kind of weird that she gave him the job, and then, like, on his first day, she comes in and tells him, yeah, he wouldn't have chosen you, so you're going to have to worry about how that's going to affect things, like, at the very last second.
Yeah.
She knew that, obviously, before then. But at the very last second, after she gave him the job, then she tells him, hey, there might be something to deal with because Frank wouldn't have picked you. But if Thomas was smart, he would have listened to her and said, oh, Frank wouldn't have picked me. I'm going to have to do what Frank wants me to do and prove to him that I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
But instead he's like, but I don't like the way Frank does stuff. Whine, complain. Like that. I don't think she thought he would do that, though. I don't think she did.
Yeah.
I think also sometimes the strong, arrogant type of personality comes off as confident if you're not paying much attention. And so he may have, previous to being hired in this position, he may have just come out to look very confident and strong, and perhaps she wasn't paying attention to all of his, the bigger picture, or didn't, know him long enough for that. And so that's kind of always just something to be aware of, that I think there is a line of extraordinarily confident and confident and incredibly full of yourself at the same time. And so there's like this teeter point.
Yeah.
Incredibly full. Well, somebody who graduates summa cum laude and he's obviously very much like, I want to get to the top. That's why he even went to that company. And then he worked really hard to impress them from the start. And he was only in the position 4 months. And he got their attention, and then, he's clearly a very good salesperson, I'm telling you, because he convinced the division vice president to promote him. He had no business, I don't think, promoting him to without the approval of who was going to be his actual boss.
Yep.
But
I agree.
Yeah.
So, what can you do in a managing position to manage office politics?
You can encourage people to be open and honest, and if you create if you welcome people's feedback, be it positive or negative, and you ask people to be open and honest, and you don't talk, you're the example of not talking behind other people's backs, I think that could help. I mean, you're not going to change everybody, but that could help.
Yeah. I think a good example of that is in the book that we're reading, how, what's her name? Catherine, thank you. She, I was like, Martha, and that was the last case we did. Catherine, she, at this retreat thing that they're doing, I mean, up until this point, that's what she's focusing on, is trying to change everyone's attitudes and trying to make everyone open and comfortable with being honest with each other, whether it's concerns or praise, whatever it is that people have to offer, to get them comfortable opening up. And I think that that's a really good way to manage office politics. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out in the end in the book, but I'm only up to whatever page we need to be. But it's interesting. I think it's a good way to go about it and be an example, like you said, Rachel.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the lack of transparency is sure to invite office politics or politics in general, whether it's in the office or in the field. If you have like a team, we've had an issue we're dealing with right now with the company I work for in Europe, where one of our commissions. So we have people that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with doTERRA, but they can build businesses. Anyways, people can use the oils and build businesses. So we have leaders in Europe that are building a business, and on our compensation plan we have a little flyer, and on there it says they'll be paid according to PV. Too much information, but that PV is incorrect. They're paid on CV, which is, in the U.S. it matches because there's no conversion rates and whatnot, but in Europe it doesn't match because of conversion rates and whatnot. And so that lack of transparency, they feel it's a lack of transparency. They feel like we're trying to hide something, where we just simply rolled over what the U.S. was using into Europe, same comp plan, same everything. But because that little word is there, I mean, we've had easily 100 emails, and just people are really upset. So then they start talking, and I think that's, in management, that's how it begins. There's a lack of transparency. People don't understand the vision. They don't understand where you're going at the company. And so I think when that happens, you have people that kind of branch off, start doing their own thing, or start talking about how things aren't going right and whatnot. So I think, Rachel, as you said, just being open and honest, being open on that hand's huge, and get rid of it.
Right. Because if people don't feel comfortable saying something in a meeting, they're not going to feel comfortable, in general. They're going to be whispering behind people and talking behind people. Meetings after meetings, which is definitely a bad situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder too, there should be a speed of reaction also, so in Sean's example, and then also in this case study, so with Sean's company, I'm sure that they're working to remedy that as soon as possible, because the longer it goes, the more the sickness, spreads, essentially. And with this case study, I don't know that Tom, didn't like the projections, and he started, manipulating his thoughts and acting out regarding that. But so as soon as that was known, they didn't really call a meeting to discuss it or invite him to produce different numbers or address that, as far as I remember. I don't know if you guys remember differently, but that could have, saved a little bit of time with, if they had addressed that right away, instead of just letting it roll and letting his sick feelings about that fester, essentially.
Well, they did talk in the hall after the meeting. So he brought it up in the meeting, and then they talked after the meeting. But I don't think that
it's very brief
set up that would be to fix it. It was just, no, this is what you should do.
Yeah, a hall talk is just a...
It's not enough, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But if I were Thomas, what I would do is try and figure out what I think is a realistic number, instead of just saying, that's not possible. And that seems to be his weak point. He doesn't seem to be into the numbers. And in that job, I don't think that's going to work. So he has to come up with what he thinks are the numbers and give reasoning as to why, and then ask for advice about how, things could. If he Frank doesn't agree with those numbers, what would he suggest he does? And I think if he actually came to him asking for advice and wanting to learn and be mentored, I think that maybe Frank would find the time to do that for him. But he senses the negativity and the bad attitude, and he doesn't want to deal with it. But yeah, he should be. I guess he just asked for stuff, but maybe he didn't train him enough. I don't know. They did have a 2 weeks where they were together doing stuff, meeting clients and whatnot, but I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know too many details of those 2 weeks.
And I don't know what his direct reports think, because dude's been made a manager over 2 people as well. And they might be thinking, well, why didn't I get promoted to this? But they don't discuss any of that. So I don't know. Yeah.
There's a lot of missing information.
There could be a counterpart, though, that he could talk to. Thomas has counterparts over other areas. He could try and learn from some of them. But he might be is. But like Sean mentioned earlier, there isn't a ton of information about that. So.
Is it wise, though, if you're working in a department and you have a direct up and down, and you need to learn something, or if there's something that you don't understand, is it wise to branch out sideways to other departments before you really work out your up and down, venues first? So if he has a question about something or he doesn't know how something goes, if he doesn't first go to the people above and below him, and he first goes outside to another department, to me that would seem really shady, and like you're working a system instead of working within the structure first and then expanding out if they can't help you, and then it would be understood that that was all right. But I don't know. What do you guys think? That's kind of my first impression on that.
A good question. I think it all depends on the organization. There was a point in the thing where it mentioned that Frank used an example of one of the other senior market specialists over a different area. And he said, look, this is what she's done, this, and this, as kind of an example. So I don't know if that's something that he's able to go talk to them and learn from them or not. I don't know.
Well, if he brought it up, then it seems like that's an invitation to learn, right?
Yeah. You think so?
But like I said, they didn't talk about really any of the other people except for the boss and the boss's boss. So we really don't know who he's supposed to be learning from.
Yeah, I mean, he's killed it as far as sales go. He's done really well. But I'm sure he feels it, just from what we get here, I'm sure he feels like, yeah, right, like I'm going to go to somebody else, like one of my coworkers, and get some advice, right? I mean, that's what we kind of get from what we've learned about him right here. And then obviously he's not going to go to Davis, because all he's gotten feedback from him is, you're worthless, like you haven't done anything past you. So that's tough. That's kind of, especially when you're prideful, that'd be a tough task to go up to your boss and say, hey, he could have done it obviously right at the get-go. If he had done it then, he'd have saved a lot of pain. The majority of this stuff wouldn't have happened probably if he had done it right off the get-go. But at this point, it's probably a little too late, because in Green's mind, I'm sure he's thinking, he's going to tear me apart if I take something. But yeah, I don't know.
I think he's in a bad position. He jumped too far too fast. I don't know that there's any way to salvage it, but
yeah, I agree. So are there any connections that you see between this case and the gospel? Interesting question. What was that? Oh, take a stab at it. Okay.
I think there is. I think one of the greatest things we can do in the church, at any point or at whatever calling we have, whether as a leader or as a part of a quorum or part of the Relief Society or whatever the case may be, is to sustain our leaders and to sustain those that we lead. And I think that lacks here very much. I mean, there's definitely a lack of sustaining. Obviously, sustaining encompasses like being willing to take counsel, being willing to counsel, being open, being trusting. So I think as far as the gospel is concerned, that's huge, especially in the days that we live in right now. There's a lot of information, or not information necessarily, but a lot of things that come out that could be controversy if someone's not aligned with what the brethren have to say. And as Green kind of is struggling because of his pride, it can happen to any of us at any time if we're not aligned with those teachings. So I think being aligned with those teachings being sustaining of the brethren or of the sisters, if we're, like I said, we decided we're following in young women's or whatever, if we're following a leader, or if we are a leader to sustain those women or those that we follow leaders. I think it's a powerful, powerful thing, and ultimately can save us from a lot of.
Yeah, and to go along with that, I think that one thing that people tend to forget, at least that I've noticed in the church, is there's a order that you're supposed to go to. If a primary teacher is having a problem, they need to go to the primary president or one of the counselors before they go straight to the bishop with it. There's a system that needs to be followed, and although that is very common for that not to be followed, and there's a reason it was put into place. There's a reason we have organizations and auxiliaries and everything. So I think that's definitely something, because even if you don't trust the person, or you don't feel that the person, let's say in primary, you don't feel the primary president is right for the job, they were called to that position for a reason. They're not going to be able to better themselves and learn themselves if you don't go to them and ask them for help and give them the opportunity to grow and expand. That's what we're all there for in the church, is to help each other.
I agree.
Any other thoughts on that?
No, but I give that like 25 points each for each, both of you. That was awesome.
You both had very good comments, I will agree.
Okay, do you guys want to know what happened to Green at the end? Okay. So the rest of the story, it says, after McDonald's February 5th, 2008 email, Green took the offensive against his boss. He crafted a series of memorandums, emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4th, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company, and although he won the battle against his boss, his career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him. By July 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. We can only speculate what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecasts. Perhaps both would have succeeded. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So is there a business term for jerking out? I mean, that's like, he really flubbed that in a big way.
Yeah.
Tucker, it didn't work out for him. I mean, temporarily he took the job, but ultimately, what did I say? He wasn't ready for that job. And the key difference was the guy had an MBA and obviously more business experience. But if he wants that kind of executive job, he would need the MBA or some sort of training, which he didn't have.
I don't know that he would even need an MBA. I think that what you need is patience to learn and the humble, a humble perspective where you're teachable. And
Yep.
so he didn't have either of those. You can't go anywhere, no matter what your degree is, if you're not teachable.
You are right. I was just saying an MBA is a way to get some of that knowledge, but you're right. Even with the MBA, he comes back and he does the same thing. It's not going to work.
Yeah. You have to be teachable and, like you said, humble. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed anywhere you are.
Yeah, so they need a what after that. So after he got his MBA, he still have the same cruddy attitude, because I bet you anything, unless he really changed, he probably put a couple more letters behind his name and rose his own self-esteem a little bit more, which isn't necessarily a good thing. And so it would be interesting to know what happened afterwards, if he learned from his experience or if he,
Like he has an off-putting personality if you get on the bad side.
Yeah.
He can really, he's good at convincing
Watch out.
people to fire him, and apparently good at convincing people not to fire him too. Wow.
Yep. Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
But if you want to fight for your job by putting other people down,
No. Yeah, that's not cool. All right. Any last thoughts, comments, stories anyone wants to share?
No, I think I talked plenty tonight.
No, you're great. All right. Well then, that concludes this meeting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Emily, I'll send you the link.
Oh, who's
Awesome.
next week?
Sean?
Yeah.
Yep. And then Sean, I'll send you and everybody else my step-by-step, probably really terrible directions on how to get this up.
Right.
Thank you.
Will not be there next week, so yeah.
You won't be?
She said she wasn't, right?
Yeah, I probably won't. I have Scout Twilight Camp all week long, Monday through Friday, and I have a team member to help me out. But I think she also works on Thursday. The one night that I needed her, the reason we set up that whole system is so I could do schoolwork, and it's not going to work out for me, I think.
Oh no.
We'll see. And so, but maybe I'll be here, maybe not.
That sounds good.
All right.
All right. You
Tim
guys.
just touched down in Denver.
Yep.
Oh,
He's safe. All right. We'll see you guys next week.
okay. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Let's see if I can turn this off.